Hello there everyone, how you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/entitled people, where an entitled mother believes that because someone's babysitting her kids that they should pay the kids' dental bills. If you enjoy, please like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Babysitting means paying the kids' dental bills. Here's a fun one. Years ago, I would often babysit my neighbor's 9 to 10-year-old daughter. He was a divorced father, with a kind of ex that would spend spreadsheets of child-rearing expenses, calculated to the penny, and weekly invoices complete with terms and penalties of her choosing for late payments. He paid big child support and generally paid her invoices on time because she would cut off access to his kiddo if he didn't. The ex, the snake, and I had basic text messaging contact. She and I had a previous dust up because a sudden weather change necessitated a jacket for the kiddo. We popped into the nearest discount store and I let her pick a jacket. The kiddo loved it, but her mother threw a giant fit at me because it wasn't brand name. I blew it off and the neighbor and I laughed about it when he reimbursed me. She gave me the silent treatment. Oh, darn, what a shame. Time moved forward. The father always reimbursed kiddos' expenses and encouraged fun and healthy activities. One day, he called me and apologized that he was getting held up at work and kiddo had an orthodontist appointment. He asked me to take her and I agreed, and he called the dentist to authorize. We got there and they wouldn't see her without a payment, $225. It was necessary. Kiddo's braces were hurting her. Dad wasn't available, but I knew he would reimburse me, so I put it on my credit rather than call her snake of a mother. The kiddo got patched up. The dad reimbursed me. I paid the card and didn't use it. A few months later, I got a past due call from my card company. Repeat charges from the orthodontist. I let the dad know and I called the orthodontist, who told me I signed an automatic payment agreement. I gave my "heck no, I'm just a babysitter" speech and didn't get far with them, so I canceled the card. The dad apologized profusely and reimbursed me. A month later, I get a nasty call from the orthodontist about my card declining. I kindly informed them that I'm not the parent and provide the snake's phone number. About an hour later, the snake is furiously calling and texting me. I silenced my phone and looked later. She maxed out my voicemail and all of her text messages were about how I was abusing her child by denying the kid medical care. One voicemail was from the police letting me know that she filed a complaint, how I could get a copy from my attorney, and inquiring whether I wanted to file a counter complaint. And you know what? I sure did. I moved out of the state, and the prosecutor called me once more, just to ask questions. Then I never heard back from the prosecutor. Last I heard from the kiddo's grandmother, the snake took a plea bargain, the dad got custody, and grandma was enjoying a lot more time with the kiddo. Edit. For clarification, friends, credit card fraud is illegal. Charging stuff to someone else's card is credit card fraud. She basically ratted her own self out to the police by filing a complaint that I wouldn't let her steal from me anymore. She probably pled guilty to theft by deception, forgery, and/or both a combination of similar charges. I have never cared enough to try to find out, and there is nothing in the world that obligates me to pay for a dental care for someone else's kid. That is such a strange stretch. Just no, that is not a thing. Turning the lights off doesn't make it cooler. The current heat wave reminded me of a massive blowout, At a previous job, back in 2017, I returned to work after a period of sickness. I come into the office to find that the lights are off and the air con is off too. Now, in the UK, air conditioning is still not standard, and being in an office where the sun hits you most of the day, it was bliss to have on. We had filters on our windows to stop people from looking in and seeing our company screens, but they did not stop the heat from coming through. The office was like an oven. My little desk fan did nothing, and having the lights off meant that I could barely see my screen, let alone my desk. I raised this up with my manager, who was the office health and safety rep, and was told that 2 of the 20 people in the office didn't like the lights because it made them feel hotter, so they turned all the lights off. I asked them if they felt hot, why turn off the air conditioning? And the answer, because they didn't like the air blowing on them where they sat. The temperature in the office was sitting at 26 Celsius, and the light levels were trying to work at dusk. I told my boss that I could not work under these conditions because they were triggering the condition that I had been off with, and I was told to go work in another office. I then tried to bring it up with 2 people who caused this by asking why they had chosen to turn off the air conditioning and the lights, and they were told that they felt too hot with the lights on and the air conditioning blew directly on them, which was too annoying. Now, the lighting was ultra low emission lighting, so it gave out no heat. And when I said this, I was told that it didn't matter because it's how they felt. And if you have a problem with it, then go work somewhere else. I put my concerns in writing to my boss and got an email back telling me to go find another office to work in. But before I could move, he would have to approve it. Now, I was on the company H&S team, which sat over the office reps, i.e. my boss. At the next meeting, I brought up that I understood that there were no minimum or maximum heat requirements for an office, but what were we to do if it was hitting 26 Celsius but the air conditioning was off? I was told by our CFO to turn the air conditioning on. I explained that 2 out of the 20 people didn't want it. The CFO scribbled down something and said he'd look into it. I then brought up minimum light levels, for which there is legislation, and how we were falling below those. Hubby had lent me a light meter to check with, which I did when lunchtime, when most of the team were out. The CFO asked why it was so dark, and I said that the same 2 people insisted on all the lights being off because it felt hotter with them on. Again, frantic scribbling. I was off the next day, and then it was the weekend. I came in on Monday to the air conditioner on, the lights on, and the 2 moaners glaring at me. Then my boss calls me into a meeting and tells me that he got shouted at by his boss, the big boss, because the CFO had come to him and torn him a new one over the lights and air conditioning. Seems the CFO had come into the office on Friday, when the managers and his boss had all gone out for lunch together with the 2 moaners, and you could now see how they had influence, and talked with the rest of the office about the conditions, and they had all said it was awful. He then waited for the bosses to come back, sitting in the big boss's office, which turns out they had a long lunch. Proceeded to get into him about breaking H&S regulations over the lighting, and if that too was turned on, and the light that if 2 out of 20 didn't like the office, then they had to move to not inflict this situation on everyone else. The air conditioning was on, and the lights were on, and the CFO left. The 2 moaners went straight to the big boss and whined with their manager, and they were told that nothing could be done for them except they had to find a different office if they didn't like it. They went on and on about their rights, and Big Boss told them it was not up for discussion. The two guys who were responsible for H&S for the whole company had come in with the CFO, checked lighting levels, and they were lower than I had thought. We were in serious non-compliance. So when I get called into the meeting with my boss, he was upset because he got shouted at by his boss that he had gotten to the H&S committee and had not gone through him. I reminded him that I had brought it up verbally and in an email, and he had emailed back that if I was unhappy, I should move offices. Well, Big Boss had thrown my boss and the boss of the two motors under the bus and said he knew nothing of it. So now my boss was in trouble as the H&S office rep for allowing it to happen when he was supposed to check regulations before making decisions. Whilst I got the lights and air conditioner back, it was a small victory. I left 2 to 3 months later. Spice Girl Karen. Back when I was in high school, about 10 years ago, I was taking a math class where the teacher we had was pregnant and ready to pop, so to speak. The school assigned our teacher a teaching aide, whom we will call Karen. Karen was one of those entitled teachers who believed that due to her age, around 60 I believe, and her title, that she is entitled to respect and power. She would write up students, talk over students when she believed they were giving the wrong answers, even though the class would prove that she was wrong, etc., etc. So my old school would require us to show our school IDs when we had lunch so we can get into the cafeteria. I also had a friend in my class that would constantly text in class. Don't worry, these both matter in a second. One day, my class ended, and lo and behold, Karen is drilling into my friend because he was texting again, and all my friend did was roll his eyes. I'd take out my wallet to take out my ID and say to my friend, "Hey man, she's right on this point. Just stop texting." I was also annoyed because his grades were dropping, and he would constantly ask for my help to keep his grades up. Karen: "Oh, P, I can't believe that you would be using your phone in class while I'm telling your friend he needs to stop." Me: "Phone?" I look at my wallet and point at it. "You mean my wallet, right?" "Don't you lie, that's a phone and you need to put it away now." Now I, at this point, was a bit annoyed because she obviously had no idea what she was talking about. So I proceeded to hold my wallet and fold and unfold it. The funny thing is I had a trifold wallet, and at this point, and currently, flip phones only folded once. I then head out of the room, thinking this was the end of it. Oh, was I wrong. The next day, I get into class and sit down. I notice Karen looking at me with a smirk on her face, but didn't think too much on the matter. Not even a minute into the class, the door of our room opens and we see a hall monitor come in. Hall monitor: "Is OP in the class today?" "Yes, he is. OP, you need to go to the dean's office." I sigh and get up. We leave the room and I head to the dean's. Once in the dean's office, I see the famous pink slip on his desk, which meant one thing: I'm in trouble. "OP, do you know why you were called down today?" "Not really, but I'm assuming it has something to do with my phone." "Yes, Miss Karen reported that you were using your phone in class while she was disciplining your friend." At this point, I pull out my phone and wallet. No, I was getting my wallet out for my ID. When she asked me to put away my phone, I started folding my wallet to show her, but I'm guessing she didn't tell you that. My dean tells me that since there was no evidence that he was forced to give me an in-school suspension. I protested a bit, but in the end I accepted it. I was upset because my dean was cool with me, but because I was one of the few students he dealt with that didn't cause trouble. I felt betrayed, but I ultimately understood why he did it. He then tells me to head to class and show Karen the suspension to 1. Show her the issue was resolved, and 2. To be my hall pass back. The second part was at the time standard practice in my school. Once I get back into the class, I head to my seat, put the slip on my desk, and sit there with my arms folded, because I was done for the day. Karen approaches my desk and proceeds to talk to me.
"Oh, P, where is your hall pass?"
Me, picking up the slip. I got an in-school suspension. And I put it back down and continue listening to the main teacher.
"Oh, P, where is your pass?"
Me, now confused. Pick up the slip and start waving it. I got an in-school suspension. Now, I poop you not, she persisted on asking me for another few minutes, where I would give her the same reply. At this point, the class is looking at us, making Karen embarrassed, and turning red. I was annoyed beyond belief.
"Oh, P, where is your pass?"
I finally snap.
"Get the F away from me, this is my pass." "How dare you speak to me like that? I'm calling for a hall monitor to escort you back to your dean."
Don't bother, I'm already on my way there. Karen looks shocked as she sees me stand up, collect my stuff, and head out of the room while slamming the door behind me. As soon as I get to my dean's office, I sit down and he also looks shocked. What the hell? What happened? I cut him off and start waving the slip. Is this a pass? The dean is confused now. Yeah, why? Me, slamming the slip on his desk. Why the hell does Karen not know that? I then explain what just happened to the dean. He listens to my point of view of what happens and says, "Wow, I can't believe that happened." You're telling me, Dean. You know, I have never had issues with anyone, and suddenly I have this teacher who doesn't know basic school protocols and is punishing me. Now, my dean's in complete shock and his composure, and tells me he is taking back the suspension, and that he is taking me out of the class for the next few days. I was told to go up to the library, and was giving me homework and notes for my friend. During the next few days, I was blessed with not seeing Karen. I discovered her first name, and she was named after a spice, and I started planning my oh-so-childish revenge on her. Once I got back into class, I started out by calling her a spice girl. Next day, brought in the spice she shared a name with, and left it on her seat. And the last day, I bought a mini space cabinet. My parents had just the one they didn't use, and it was fun. Unfortunately, my pranks didn't give me the response I wanted, so I just resorted to calling her by her first name, which worked.
"Oh, P, you can't call me that."
Why? It's your name, isn't it? I had some of the class looking at us to get a response.
"Well, yes, but you can only refer to me as Miss Karen out of respect."
Oh, like the same respect you give us. Oh, wait, you don't. So I'll just continue to call you how I please until you give us respect. My friend screamed, "Oh, damn!" The rest of the year, the whole class would only refer to her by her first name, which made Karen turn red. Last I heard, which was a few years after I graduated, is that she retired, but due to what I did, no student would ever call her by her respected title. Oh yes, perfect. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, it helps the channel a lot. See you next time.